There's a very obvious shift that's been happening in the software development industry for the past few years, and especially in the past year, regarding the improvement of how AIs can help with writing code and also the massive layoffs. So I think they were both separate, but I think one kind of funnels into the other. And I want to say that 10% of the time, AI can get it right the first time when it comes to asking it to make a pull request. And it's pretty good still. Even with that, it's pretty good because as a developer, when you have enough experience, you understand how to debug it. But there's still a need to understand development and develop things. I will say that there's still a perception probably around these things that will affect the industry. And I want to address the fear response from, let's say, those improvements in AI and also those increase in layoffs that have been happening. When there's a fear response, usually that means that there is something to address, right? Something in your mind is tingling and saying, hey, this thing is making me uncomfortable. I got to take a look at that. So for me, the way I address that is usually by listening to it and seeing where it takes me. Let's say the fear response could be something like, oh, I'm afraid that the guys may actually get too good and replace me, or let's say that wages will go down or something. What am I going to do instead? I want to say that as developers, there's a bit of notoriety for things changing very fast. And I think successful developers, people who work in professional industries, they're not writing code in one thing and then stopping there and that's their whole career and just coasting. Usually we're pushing the boundary of what is a good system, or like pushing ourselves to see, can I try something in this new language or framework and is it going to do a good job? It's not just pushing ourselves, but also pushing the limit of what's a good architecture for the system. And so we already have the skills for learning and getting accustomed to a new thing, adapting. And I was thinking of it in the way of evolution, where I was thinking about how I heard that cats, for example, they evolved in a way to where they would sit around in like human cities because they had a chance to get mice from the humans' output. I think they were talking about granaries or something. And then I was thinking, like, what if all cats are just on auto feeders in the future? And then they'll start treating the auto feeders with that kind of affection feeling, like when a cat rubs against you or something. And I was like, what if they now, like, okay, everything is automated by a drone or something, and they start giving that response to the drone. And then cats won't be accustomed to humans anymore, they'll be accustomed to the robots. And that's, let's say, how they'd evolve over like a few centuries, and they'd get used to that. They'd be like, if I'm nice to the robot, then maybe it'll feed me. Or maybe they'll realize they don't have to do anything at all and it's always going to take care of them. I want to use that analogy in regards to like high level languages and also in regards to just adapting throughout the industry. So people who write in VHDL and assembly, they're not writing at the same level as someone in C, who's not writing at the same level as someone in C++, and that's not the same as C# or Java, that's not the same as JavaScript. There's like a hierarchy of like how low level your language is in regards to how much you need to handle to write code that does something and then internally is managed, right? Because let's say something like the garbage collector is automated and totally gone in higher level languages, because the idea there is the trade-off of manually handling that isn't worth it for writing certain applications in terms of developer speed. And so it raises the question of like, where is that going to go? Are we going to eventually find some even higher level language that just lets us work with some compiler that handles the code under the hood or something? And it's hard to imagine. I don't know that we're going to get a machine learning compiler because the accuracy is not 100% like with a regular compiler. So that might be weird. But we might get tools where you write in some more semantic-ish language and that gets turned into something and that goes through a compiler. And I think that's one aspect, is like, we don't really know what's going to happen. And there's probably going to be much higher level tooling around like how we write code. But let's say, for example, you don't only write in higher level code. Like people still write in low level languages, not all the time with something like assembly or VHDL, but C is pretty common. So ++ way more common. And then C# obviously common. I think JavaScript is probably the most common language overall, but that's how things go because there's a difficulty, there's like a barrier to entry and people don't find it worth it. And that might be true for people who are writing more simple scripts or automation or programs that just need a web page with a bunch of forms. Like, do you need to be writing React and TypeScript and doing all this specific work? It's like, for now, yes, but if it could be handled under the hood, then maybe not. There's only like certain niche performance cases that really need to be handled. There's not a ton all the time. It depends on the complexity of the software, so disclaimer, don't come after me. I know, because I've been doing a lot of React for the past like 7 years. I think the other aspect, going back to that fear response, is to address that feeling. Let's say that it's, I'm going to get replaced, or I don't know what's going to happen, or I'm going to lose my job, right? Okay, so for me, when I saw the AI stuff taking place, I started thinking, okay, I probably need to make something around this, because for me, that's how I think. I'm like, I like to get ahead of things personally. So I went and I did a program and I learned about machine learning, how to create models, how does a large language model work. And I wanted to use that to build something in the space to be a part of how this can be used to assist developers or speed up certain tasks that maybe don't necessarily need a ton of development work. That's what we're doing with programming oftentimes, is how do we make some tool that makes it so you don't have to write or duplicate code or reinvent the wheel. So I went and I explored that, and I felt like it was fruitful, and that's what I would recommend. If you're really feeling that, I don't know what's going to happen, like maybe go try and understand things a little more, how they work. For me, I like to do it super low level. I like to understand like what's really behind those things and know how to build them, and then go from there, especially if I want to make certain custom solutions. But it might even look like, for someone else, just let me try using GPT for a while and coding with it and pushing it to the limit and seeing, is this actually a good workflow? Like, what does it do for me? For me, I would say that there's value in both. I would definitely recommend both. I'd recommend doing a training on it if you're not familiar with ML at all. And I would recommend building something with it, which I usually recommend in each video. Is like, when, as a developer, you need to develop things, and if you build a lot of things, then you've proven to yourself and the world that, like, hey, I can build things using this tool, or I can build things in a way that is beneficial for this company. I would say the best thing for those fear responses in general is really exploring them, introspecting what really about this is bothering me. Is it that AI got better? Is it that it feels like there's no jobs left? Explore the cause behind those things, why you feel that way, and explore a way that you can feel like you're getting ahead of that. For example, with AI, maybe learn how to build your own model, learn how to use it in your workflows, build a product that people will use, and make that your job. These kinds of things are ways to get around that. And when it comes to layoffs overall, think about how you can provide value to businesses. Do that a lot of times. Record that, put it in a portfolio and a resume, and then you're going to be much more likely to get something than somebody who has worked at a lot of places and coasted, but they can't really say anything about like their statistics. Like, you were at Megacorp A and you were writing Java code, but you were just, that's all you were doing. You were writing Java code and you contributed to some app, but there's not really a real metric you can pull out of it. And there always is, but I'm giving an example. Don't feel bad if you're, if you feel like you're coasting, like you gotta pull something out and make it look good, right? So yeah, I think majorly the only thing you can really do is explore the fears, learn a lot, and adapt. And if you're enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like if it's helping you out, and hit the subscribe button as well, and hit the bell to see more content like this. But I think that is crucial as a developer, is we have to adapt. And I think that's how the world also works in general, is we don't entirely know what's going to change, and this change looks a lot bigger than the ones in the past. So you have to explore it and get ahead of it, rather than live in constant concern of what's going to happen to my job. Like, are we going to develop anymore? And the answer, you're probably going to keep developing for a long time. But I would say it's best as soon as you feel that, because for me, I feel it early on. Explore the feeling behind it and look into it, and learn how to leverage the tools and learn how to build the systems behind them, because you might run into needing to do that. So that's just another phrase about adaptability. But I will say that there's so many occasions where a tool would come out and people would think that developers were going to go. But I do want you to think about a business owner who has never touched code trying to build a dashboard for themselves with GPT, and then also it needs to update live when something changes. And I don't know, it's like, it's just so backward that they would be generating code, because every time I generate code, I run into an issue and then I have to fix it. And because I have a concept of how the app is supposed to work in my head. But if I'm just saying like, make me a dashboard, it's broken, fix it, may never fix it, or if it does, it's like, I don't know what it fixed and why, and maybe it doesn't actually adhere to the feature. It's just going to keep like going through. It's not like a real solution. You have to understand what it is that you're making. If the AI was putting already coded building blocks together, and you were saying, make me a website using this builder that does these things, like it can shift elements around. Like if you give it an example of JSON and tell it, make me similar JSON, it can do that pretty well, right? So you could easily make building blocks, but when you're asking it to write code, like there's just so much data behind what code is that it's not gonna work the first time when you're building a whole app. Yes, it'll work the first time when you tell it, make me a bubble sort algorithm. Yes, it'll work the first time when you say, loop through these and configure them to work a certain way. But sometimes I ask it to format things in a way, and then it craps out 20 times in a row. And I'm like, okay, I'm making this manually. Or if I ask it to make a feature, a part's going to be missing, or it has an error, whatever it is. It's really an extension of your understanding of how to make something. The more context you provide, the more accurate it is. It's not like, make me an app where like I can buy pizza and it gets automatically delivered. Like that's not gonna happen. It'll make some broken garbage. So think about those things. And again, yes, I know those things will all improve. Yes, it will get better at them. Fundamentally though, an LLM doesn't have 100% accuracy. It never will, because that's how it generates things. So I'm gonna leave you with that. I think about the adaptability aspect of things. Think about how you can get ahead and how you can adjust to the new world. Don't worry so much about like what's going to happen if I stay doing the same thing, because yeah, you can't stay doing the same thing forever. You can do the same thing for like 5 years and then maybe it's going to completely change. Who knows? So thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps me out, especially in this stage. And I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, don't freak out about the market. Keep going.